Well, it's a very warm welcome back to a second half independent off-tube studio commentary from the game at the City Ground. Nottingham Forest 1-1 with Brentford, and Forest straight away on the attack. A jinking run here from Manuel Dennis, gets all the way to the edge of the area before he's stopped in his tracks, and then the ball is cleared up towards the halfway line. Keane Lewis Potter was chasing that one, but Cook gets there first, and then a very comfortable pass back from Serge Aurier gets the ball all the way back towards goalkeeper Dean Henderson. But Forest will be fuming. I think that based on the first 45 minutes, they would have felt they were more than good value to at least be a goal up against Brentford, who really didn't trouble Dean Henderson at all. And then that's a penalty for Brentford in injury time, converted by Mbeumo, with Brentford's regular penalty kick taker Ivan Toney out suspended. And it's no surprise really that Forest want to start this second half on the front foot, because they'll feel very much aggrieved. It's myself, Paul Szczerbakowicz and Ben Rogers taking you through the commentary. And Ben, Brentford with a get out of jail free card towards the end of the half. It's just seeing now whether they can build on that in the second.
Well, they've got to build on it from Paul, haven't they? Because it wasn't good enough in the first half from the Bees. They were really poor, and Nottingham Forest, like you've just mentioned there, were phenomenal for 40-45 minutes of his half. And that one slip up where Dean Henderson, he'd come out, didn't he? And Wissa just got there ahead of him, and we said it was controversial at the time. I've had a few looks again at half time. It probably was a penalty, to be fair. The contact was enough probably to bring Wissa down, and that's why the officials in the end made the decision for a penalty kick. Henderson was furious about it because he felt like he got touched on the ball. We couldn't really see any conclusive angle that saw the touch on the ball from Henderson, so I think it was the right decision. It was a penalty kick, and Mbeumo converted it, and Brentford somehow got into the half-time break with level, but they've made a change at half-time, haven't they? Onyeka's come on.
Yes, they have. Yeah, absolutely. No changes for Forest. So it is Henderson in goal for Forest. Back four of Aurier, Cook, McKenna and Williams. Three in midfield, Yates, Frula and Kouyaté, with Gibbs, White, Johnson and Dennis as the attacking three for Forest. For Brentford, it is Raya in goal. Back four of Roslev, Pinnock, Mee and Henry. Three in midfield, Jensen, De Silva and Onyeka. As Ben mentioned, Onyeka coming on for the for midfielder Vitaliano. It was on a yellow card as well, so there might have been thoughts with that. And the front three, Mbeumo, Wissa and Lewis Potter. So a ball over the top here for Forest, headed on by Emmanuel Dennis. It's cleared away by Brentford. De Silva dropping in, trying to keep the Bees in possession. Does well just to shepherd the ball away from Frula, trying to turn and find another opportunity to find a teammate. Does really well there, Josh De Silva. And but problems for Leeds United right at the start of the second half. They're now 3-1 down at home to Bournemouth. Gosh, it really is a seesaw supporting Leeds United. The limbs that they had last weekend when they beat Liverpool away in the last minute, to be 3-1 down against newly promoted Bournemouth this afternoon. But that's the joy of the Premier League. Just shows that anyone can beat anyone.
It's a roller coaster, isn't it? Ups and downs, as you say. And Leeds United are probably the epitome of that more than anyone else. And with Jesse March, his job was on the line before that Anfield game, and now that everyone thought, this could all change for Leeds now, and his job might be rescued. But with a heavy defeat at home to Bournemouth today, I think his job might be back in question again, and that's how tough it is sometimes being a manager. But did last week just paper over the cracks for him? Yeah,
potentially, yeah, and it just shows that Bournemouth have done very well to keep hold of Gary Neville as their caretaker, because it's another potentially great result this afternoon. But getting back to the City Ground here, it's Forest on the attack. Neco Williams' ball from the left-hand side. It was a decent cross. There was just nobody in the line of it inside the penalty area. Now Keane Lewis Potter on the run for Brentford. He did well to get away from Aurier, but he couldn't get away from Kouyaté. And Forest win it back only very briefly. In fact, they actually have possession back after Jensen couldn't control it for Brentford. It's now with McKenna. He finds Emmanuel Dennis, who's off through the middle here. Dennis, two Brentford players on him. It's take your pick as to whether Onyeka or Mbeumo brought him down, but one of them did, and it will be a free kick to Forest.
Yeah, Onyeka, he's sort of struggled with the pace of his game so far, hasn't he? He brought down someone right at the start of the half, but he probably got away with it, and then just again there. It was Dennis again inside the box,
Dennis absolutely.
Again, Dennis again there, just sort of nips the ball around him, and then he brings him down, and just feels like sometimes it's hard coming on a substitute, especially at half time, to sort of keep up with the pace of the game, and sometimes you have to just get a couple of minutes just to get yourself up in that pace. But Gibbs White the opportunity to put the ball into the box. It was a dangerous angle, but I just worry it's a bit too straight.
It is straight. He's trying to develop it a bit of an angle by pinging it over towards the left-hand edge, and Scott McKenna was stood underneath it. He sort of waited and suddenly realised that he was the only one who could actually go for it. Cook, who was just a little bit further away, never even bothered moving for that one in the end, because I think he assumed that his taller teammate McKenna was going to go for it, and so they both sort of looked at it, and then neither of them ended up getting it.
It was a real central angle, but Cook and McKenna there have actually both made really good runs. I think Cook himself is actually on side.
McKenna's left that for Cook, and then Cook saying to McKenna, you should have gone for it. So, as I say, with the experience between those two, one of them really should have shouted to the other.
To be fair to Cook there, McKenna if he's not got a shout, he's got to go for the ball, hasn't
I
he?
think so. I think that was within McKenna's reach actually, and I think that's it's a bit of a let off there for Brentford. That's a decent ball in from Gibbs White. Wasn't used a bit more by Forest, but Mathias Jensen now for Brentford finds Josh Da Silva down the right hand side, and Da Silva is away here, being followed by Kouyaté. Tries to fire it into Mbeumo, who gets away from Neco Williams, but he's just been blocked there by Williams at the second attempt, and Mbeumo takes the consolation prize and deflects it off Williams for a corner.
Yeah, you mentioned in the first half about Brian Mbeumo, perhaps Brentford fans being frustrated with the lack of sort of goals and numbers he produces. But he's got that penalty in the first half, and he's got the bit between his legs in this second, running in behind Neco Williams 2 or 3 times now in the opening 5 minutes of his half. Again, really good ball in from Da Silva. Mbeumo's in behind him, forces the corner. Can the delivery from Brentford be good enough to create another opportunity?
Well, there's a real cluster of players. Brentford have sort of bunched together just at the edge of the D, and obviously Forest, to try and mark up, have all gathered there with them. So you'd imagine these are all going to disperse now as Jensen puts this ball in. Edge of the 6-yard box. It's Cheku Kouyaté with the header away for Forest. Back to Mathias Jensen and Mbeumo on that right-hand side. Jensen tries another ball in. It's a decent ball in. Diving header away this time from Steve Cook before it's hooked away and back into midfield. Rico Henry tends to be the last man back for Brentford. He gets there first and then fires the ball down the left-hand side here for Keane Lewis Potter. Just a bit too much pace on that one, though, and the ball is out of play. Just to tell you very quickly that it was Dominic Solanke with the goal for Bournemouth, so they're 3-1 up away at Leeds, but Forest give it away inside their own half, and now it's Jensen into the box. He finds Da Silva. The ball just wouldn't sit down for Da Silva. Goes back to Onyeka, and it's Roslev joining the attack now on the right-hand side. He lifts a high cross into the box. Good header away by Serge Aurier, but it drops to Mathias Jensen. Jensen at the edge of the area trying to get away from the Yates, and he manages it. He stays on his feet here, Jensen, but he couldn't get a ball in first time round. He tries to do too much there at the end, trying to take on Brennan Johnson, and that one is cleared out. Jensen did so well there, but then unnecessarily trying to dribble past Johnson when he could have just crossed it.
His close control was absolutely superb, Paul, and he even got himself dragged to the floor, but kept hold of the ball. And then I just feel like the overlapping run of Henry, just to slip him in there with a little ball, get Henry to the byline to create a different crossing angle was on. But as you say, he just tried to pirouette away from Kouyaté's tackle, and then in the end he just gets dispossessed and crowded out by the Forest players. But Brentford look to have put a long throw-in scenario into the box here.
They have, yeah. It's Mathias Jensen on the left-hand side, but as I mentioned, they do like to sometimes set up for a long throw and then just take it short anyway. This time I think Jensen is taking a long one up. It's got plenty to aim for, including the frame of Pinnock and Mee. That's where the ball has gone, towards the edge of the 6-yard box, headed away by Yates. Wissa jumping for it. It drops perfectly to Kouyaté, who doesn't put a particularly strong clearance in. Henry then puts it back into the box. It's cleared second time round, and Forest are now back in possession here with Serge Aurier down the right-hand side. He's clearly been tripped there as he tries to break out. Keane Lewis Potter doesn't agree, but it is going to be a free kick to Nottingham Forest. 53 minutes gone. Independent off-tube studio commentary. Nottingham Forest 1, Brentford 1. And as I mentioned, Leeds 1, Bournemouth 3. Manchester City down to 10 men against Fulham is 1-1. And Wolves against Brighton. Wolves down to 10 men in that game. It's also 2-2 in that game. Brighton were awarded a penalty in the 5th minute of injury time, but after a VAR review, that penalty was taken away. So it is just still 2-2 in that game. Everton against Leicester City still to come this evening. And based on what's happened in the games at 3 o'clock, we'll have a lot to live up to that 5:30 game. Plenty of excitement in the Premier League already, and you can just see that penalty for Brentford towards the end of the first half has just changed things in the second, because Forest just don't have that spring in their step that they did in the first.
No, they don't, and Brentford, it's sort of been transferred to Brentford, hasn't it? They look a lot more potent on the ball, if I should say, because before they got that goal, they just looked, it was a lot of sideways, wasn't it? A lot of long balls, but now they're passing with a purpose, and you can really tell the difference. They're really trying to get in behind Nottingham Forest now and get balls into the box and create actual attacking situations as they almost do there. Rico Henry.
It was a great chance there for Rico Henry. I just wondered if he feared he was offside, because he was sort of quite clumsy in the way he tried to control that ball there, Henry. But he certainly had a chance to try and keep that move going for Brentford down the left-hand side. It's been cleared out for a throw. Brentford back in possession. Ben Mee with a long diagonal ball, but it wasn't particularly accurate. It's picked off here by Neco Williams, and Forest now looking to get the ball away and up towards the halfway line, where Kouyaté flicks that ball forward, and he tries to chase after it himself here, Cheku Kouyaté, but Rico Henry is there. He goes back towards David Raya. It's kept in play, I should say, by Lewis Potter down the left-hand side. Feeds that in towards Wissa. Now it's Josh Da Silva. Da Silva at the edge of the area. Spots in Mbeumo, and Mbeumo fires that one across the 6-yard box. and that is not too far away from keen Lewis Potter at all. And Mbeumo there just almost giving himself a little mental replay of that cross just after he made it. I just wonder, is this Lewis Potter not attacking the ball, or Mbeumo perhaps just not quite finding him?
Well, it's really good play from Brentford to build up for in the end. I tell you what, that is an absolute sumptuous ball. Looking at it again from Mbeumo, Lewis Potter's just it's a miscommunication. It's a difficult one to tell who the difference is. And Mbeumo's fired that in the most perfect area for a winger. But Lewis Potter's got himself in a good position as well. He's in a good bit of space. But it was Lewis Potter's work on that left-hand side originally. Cuts himself onto the right-hand side. Finds Johan Wissa. Wissa to De Silva. De Silva out wide to Mbeumo. It was really nice 1-2 touch football from Brentford. And Mbeumo fires that ball across the goal. And as you say, Lewis Potter just didn't throw himself at the ball. He was static, but he wasn't in a bad position, to be fair to the young winger. Just a bit of, well...
Yeah, I mean, as I say, looking at that replay, I think we both agree that he could have gone for it and perhaps should have just perhaps gambled on it a little bit more. But Brentford with a throw here in an attacking position. It's a short throw from Jensen this time. He gets the ball back, stands up across, which is headed away by Cheku Kuyate. The ball drops at the edge of the area, and Mbeumo with the strike. He put his left foot through it, but couldn't quite get the accuracy that he wanted there. He's a former French under-21 international who now plays for his parents' country of origin, Cameroon. And to say it wasn't the best effort there from Mbeumo, just put his left foot through that, slices it slightly wide. But Forest, they need to do something just to wake up their midfield. It's what we were saying about Brentford for most of the first half. And it's been a while since that ball's been anywhere near David Raya's penalty area.
The tables have turned in the second half completely, Paul, in the opening 10 minutes. But Brian Mbeumo just looks like a different player, doesn't he? He scored that goal and he was so quiet for so long, and then scores that goal just before the break of half-time. And since that break, he's been a bundle of energy. He's been involved in absolutely everything that's been good for Brentford. And this is what Brentford need for Mbeumo, because they know how good he can be on his day. As Brentford are ready, and another substitute will confirm for you who that's going to be shortly.
Yeah, it looked to me like it might be Mikkel Damsgaard, the Danish international. That doesn't narrow it down for Brentford. There's a few Danish internationals in the squad, but Damsgaard signed from Sampdoria in the summer. Hasn't had anywhere near as much time on the pitch as either he or indeed the Brentford fans would have expected. But he's going to get a good chance now, you feel, with over half an hour to play in this game. I just wonder if it might be Lewis Potter or Wissa perhaps being thought about for the hook, or it might be one of the three central midfielders. I do wonder what Thomas Frank is thinking there as he's preparing Damsgaard to come on. Still no movement on that Forest bench, and they've got Lingard, Mangala, Awaniyi, Surridge, Worrell, O'Brien, Bolly, Renan Lodi and goalkeeper Hennessy to choose from. The Brentford benches Kramer, Trevitt, Godos, Sergi Canos, Yarmoliuk, Damsgaard, Jorgensen and young Matt Cox, the goalkeeper, on the bench for the Bees this afternoon. And of course Onyeka coming on at half-time to replace Yano. But here come Brentford now down the right-hand side, and Mbeumo finding Josh De Silva under pressure there from Neco Williams. De Silva rolling this one back towards Roslev, and then he plays it square to Ben Mee. And not much pressing here from Forest at all. Now there's a bit from Brennan Johnson. But the ball played back towards David Raya. Brentford looking very comfortable in this second half compared to how nervous and disjointed they look really at times in the first. But they're finding spaces all over the pitch now. And here is Lewis Potter down the left-hand side. He's got an overlap there from Rico Henry. Just chooses to play it short to Henry this time. This is waiting at the edge of the area. It's back with Lewis Potter. Plays it across the middle now towards Josh De Silva. And two players over here for Brentford in Mbeumo and Roslev. Roslev was on the overlap and Mbeumo chose to cross it himself. It wasn't the best option. It was charged down, and after partial clearance there from McKenna, Williams puts a bit more distance on it, but that's good work there from Onyeka, just to get there ahead of Ryan Yates, just to keep that pressure on Forest. And I think Forest were expecting a free kick there. I don't think the referee has given a free kick, but he has stopped play for a head injury to Brennan Johnson.
It was Lewis Potter, wasn't he? He was led with his forearm as he come up there for the head of the young man. He does catch Brennan Johnson, I think, with his trailing forearm. I'm not quite sure whether the referee, Andre Mariner, did give a free kick there or not, but Lewis Potter definitely did catch him with his forearm, and I don't think he could have many complaints if there was a free kick given. But yeah, Brentford have looked a lot better in these last sort of 13, 40 minutes of his second half. They've come out definitely the better team, and it is Lewis Potter that's going to be replaced. I think we did expect that. We said before the game, Paul, didn't we, at the start of this commentary, that it was a big afternoon for the young man. He's got an opportunity on this favoured left-hand side with, obviously, Wissa going centrally and because of Tony's suspension, but I don't quite think he's had the impact. He looks frustrated, and he's cut a frustrated figure, and I think it's because, again, he feels like he's not taking the opportunity with both hands that he presented.
Yeah, I think he's frustrated with that. I think maybe he'll feel as though he would have liked to have had a little bit more time on the pitch, and as I say, he doesn't look like you wouldn't expect any player to look happy when they're being substituted, but he really looks very frustrated. I would guess that he's going to get a start in midweek, though. Brentford are playing Gillingham in the Carabao Cup in midweek, and I would guess that Lewis Potter Potter will get the start there. It's for older Brentford fans, that really is a fascinating game because in the sort of mid to late 90s, there was a period where Gillingham took 8 or 9 of Brentford's best players over 2 or 3 seasons because they were the bigger club in those days. And it's incredible, really, to think how that's reversed now. Gillingham arriving at the new G-Tech Stadium as it is now to play a cup game, and of course Brentford good few divisions ahead of the Gills now, but we're back underway. Brennan Johnson is back on the field. Brentford have made their second change, as we said, with Mikkel Damsgaard coming on here to replace Keane Lewis Potter. It's bang on 60 minutes in this game. Just to tell you that whilst we were getting that injury checked over, there has been a 5th goal at Ellen Road. It's now Leeds United 2, Bournemouth 3. So Sam Greenwood off the bench and within 6 minutes getting a goal for Leeds United. So it's absolutely game on at Ellen Road in that one. It's game on here as well at the City Ground, and it's Brentford trying to do most of the running here with Damsgaard. His first touch of the ball is to play a lovely ball down the channel here for Rico Henry. Just a little bit too much on that one. The idea was right, but the ball to Henry just a little bit overhit. Yeah,
it wasn't a bad idea at all there. It was a good ball from Damsgaard in behind to Henry. Like you say, just a tiny bit too much on it. Henry's quick as well, so he's stretching in the end, isn't he, to get in behind there. But Brentford at the most likely after these 15 minutes. Steve Cooper's animated on the touchline, and animated for Steve Cooper anyway, because he's normally such a relaxed figure. But I think he's going to have to look to the substitute bench, perhaps Annuenni, because he was absolutely fabulous in instrumental. Of course, got the winner against Liverpool. Has Nottingham Forest come out? Break off.
They do, but just it's Kouyaté and Dennis. They almost got in each other's way there. That just allowed Onyeka to step in between them and actually take the ball away and put Brentford back into possession here with Mads Roslev down the right-hand side. That's a ball over the top, which is easily headed away by Neco Williams. He's had a busy afternoon on that left-hand side, and he's done well for the most part here, the young Welshman. Now it's with Dennis down the left-hand side under a bit of pressure. Playing this one back towards the halfway line here for Scott McKenna. And McKenna looking left and right. Didn't see too many options. Goes square to Steve Cook in the end. Pressing here from Brentford. So they go back towards Dean Henderson. Long clearance from Henderson up towards the halfway line. Both sets of players with their hands up after that collision between Henry and the Forest man. But no free kick given. And what a run this is from Brennan Johnson. Johnson with a great run down the right-hand side. He clearly beats his man. But then perhaps a little bit of rush of blood to the head. The cross that he fires in from the right-hand side is completely overhit, and that is out harmlessly for a goal kick.
Yeah, he done really well, Brendan Johnson, to get himself into that situation on the right-hand side. Then it was a good flick on from Ryan Yates, and then Johnson stands Ethan Pinnock one-on-one, and Pinnock did not want to have been a foot race with Johnson. Johnson absolutely burns Pinnock with that heavy touch, and look at Emmanuel Dennis in that space at the back post, but Johnson just cannot pick him out at all, and Steve Cooper... Oh, he looks frustrated, doesn't he? He applauds.
Yeah, well, the initial reaction is frustration, but then, of course, it's a young player. He wants to encourage him, so that's always going to be the case. Players and managers, I've noticed, that are trying to do more of that, because it seems pointless just to berate a player, particularly when it's a young player. It's always better to try and give them a little bit more encouragement. Interestingly enough, the possession stats in the first half, 39% to Forest to 61% for Brentford. It's 48-52 in the second half, but Brentford look better on that possession stat in the second half, I would say. Ball played back towards Henderson, who's made a bit of a mess of the clearance. Doesn't get quite as much distance on it as he would have liked. It's headed forward by Mbumo. It won't reach Josh Da Silva, but he tries to put some pressure here on Neco Williams. Ball played forward in the end, and it gets all the way through towards David Raya. And Raya now just playing it back out towards Frank Onyeka. Onyeka is caught there by Emmanuel Dennis. Two Nigeria internationals there colliding, but Brentford still keep possession. And it is with Josh Da Silva back inside to Frank Onyeka. Onyeka spotting some space for Brentford down the left, and there is Rico Henry. Henry's pass to the overlapping run of Mathias Jensen is put out for a throw. Brentford with possession. Goes back towards Ben Mee. And Mee square now towards Mads Roslev. Under pressure there from Emmanuel Dennis, and Mbumo having to track this ball all the way back towards Roslev in the end. Forest just trying to be a little bit more expansive now. They're not allowing Brentford the sort of freedom that the Bees were having in the first 10 minutes of the first half, as Rico Henry wins the ball off Brennan Johnson. Johnson is down on the ground here. Let's have a look at this again, as Johnson seems to just be going for the ball, and then Henry, I don't think Henry does anything wrong here. It's with Pinnock as well, coming across to get towards Brennan Johnson. I think it's Pinnock who collides with Johnson in the end, but it didn't seem like there was much in that, and Johnson's still in trouble.
Yeah, it's just a weird one, wasn't it? I'm not quite sure if Brennan Johnson's going to be able to continue either. It looks as if Nottingham Forest are ready in a substitute. He just looks to be in a lot of pain, the young man there. I'm not quite. Yeah, I think sometimes when you get, if it studs on the top of the boot, which it looked as if it was, they are just sort of impact more than a muscular problem at least, and it hurts for a bit, and you have to just sort of run it off. But after 3 or 4 minutes, you're alright. And it seems to be that sort of situation. He's back up on his feet now, Brennan Johnson, but they can be sore ones right on the top of the foot. There's not a lot of padding in the boots there, is there? And I feel like it's just one of those ones where you'd have to run it off. And here is Nottingham Forest's first change of the afternoon.
It is, and it's a change in midfield. Potentially Cheku Kuyate playing with a slight knock already. He's now going to get the hook, and it's Lewis O'Brien to replace him. So it's a refresher in terms of central midfield. O'Brien on the field just to try and inject a little bit more energy into that Forest 3. And we could see O'Brien just trying to just gesturing to one of his teammates there about potential positioning, some instructions that he may well have taken from the bench. As the ball now cleared away by Brentford, but pumped straight back in towards the Bees penalty area. Bouncing ball here. Johnson heads this on. It's hooked away by Rico Henry up towards the halfway line. Ben Mee then clipping a ball over. That's poor from Ben Mee, and that goes straight out for a throw to Nottingham Forest down the right-hand side. The ball played back towards the goalkeeper Hnederson. Hnederson now square to McKenna. McKenna being closed down here by Wissa, but certainly Forest now just looking a little bit more assured than they were earlier on in this second half. It's just a question of whether they can now create this into some sort of attacking possession. But just as I say that, Josh De Silva wins the ball back for Brentford. He then hits the deck, expecting a free kick. Referee not interested. Forest now bringing out here with Gibbs White over towards Aurier on the right-hand side. Aurier's cross is but certainly put a lot of pace onto that, but the ball is only taken down by Emmanuel Dennis at the edge of the area. He then plays it back, looking for some support. It's now put in by Neco Williams. Good header away though by Ben Mee. The ball back towards the halfway line, kept alive here by Steve Cook and Scott McKenna. It's now with substitutes so Lewis O'Brien. Brian playing it forward towards Emmanuel Dennis, but Brentford are holding firm here at the edge of their own penalty area. No easy route forward for Forest. Now they try to get Aurier involved, and he had the space on that right-hand side after Dennis's ball, but it's miscontrolled and it's out for a goal kick.
Yeah, it's a good ball across from Emmanuel Dennis, and he's floated it to Aurier as well, so it was easy for Aurier to bring down, and he sort of opens his boot up to try and, open up a crossing opportunity for himself, but he's opened his boot up so much that the ball's just bounced off the side of his foot and behind for a goal kick. Real poor control there from Aurier. It wasn't the hardest ball in the world to bring down. It wasn't coming down from a high angle or with a lot of pace behind it, so just be expecting a lot more. It's just a slight lapse of concentration there, I should say, as Leeds have levelled at Ellen Road.
They have indeed, yeah. It's club captain Liam Cooper that has the goal for Leeds United there, so 3-3 in that game, and they're about a minute ahead of us as well. They're on 69 minutes here. We're just coming up to 68 between Nottingham Forest and Brentford. It is still 1-1, and this free kick to Forest still deep in their own half. It's a good chance for us to hand over as well, as we're at the three-quarter mark in this game. It is Nottingham Forest 1, Brentford 1, and it will be Ben to take us through to full-time.
Yeah, it's been a second half that hasn't really promised too much so far. There's not been a lot in the way of clear-cut chances as our camera television pictures just looking on to Jesse Lingard on the bench, and he's still in a coat and in a bib and doesn't really even show signs of coming on at the moment. And it's been a weird one for Jesse Lingard, hasn't it? He's come, of course, with that massive contract that everyone was talking about, snubbed West Ham, decided to join Nottingham Forest, but just hasn't been able to do anything, has he? It's similar for Morgan Gibbs-White, but he's had a lot more of an impact today, and he'll be looking to have a further impact here as Brennan Johnson looks for Gibbs-White, but it's really good defending from Rico Henry, and Morgan Gibbs-White, of course, scored the opener in this game earlier on in the first half, and Brennan Johnson has the ball now for Nottingham Forest to Serge Aurier. Aurier past the tackle with Jensen, and in the air, and Emmanuel Dennis was arriving at the back post, but couldn't quite get contact on it, and the ball finds Brian and Bremo, who's under pressure from Neco Williams in, and Bremo plays it off him, looking for a throw-in, but it comes back off the Cameroonian and out for a Nottingham Forest throw-in in a dangerous position here to be taken by Neco Williams. 69 minutes played at the City Ground, and here comes Morgan Gibbs-White there, takes the ball really well at the half-time, takes a tumble as well. Andre Mariner waves it off and says get up. I think to be fair to Andre Mariner, I think he's got this one spot on. Gibbs-White was looking for it, and I think Ben Mee just about pulled his leg away in enough time. We'll see the replay of this again as Bremo pulls back Emmanuel Dennis here, but Andre Mariner waves play on, but there's no advantage, and I think Brian Mbeumo is going to be going into the referee's book.
He's going to get booked here, because it was a deliberate pullback. He made no attempt to play the ball. Referee played a 3 or 4 second advantage before he realised that Forest were going to lose the ball anyway. So now it is a booking for Brian Mbeumo. And this obviously gives VAR a bit more time to check over that decision there, because certainly some of the Forest fans behind the goal were really appealing this. We'll have a look here. Well, in fact, they're just showing us the replay of Mbeumo's booking now.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see the replay of this penalty decision as well. It's a really nice turn from Gibbs White away from Rawsey, and then it's Ben Mee, and then...
The question is, does Gibbs White run into Ben Mee first before Ben Mee lifts his leg, or does Ben Mee trip Morgan Gibbs White? That's the question.
Ben Mee leaves his leg there, doesn't he? And then he pulls it, and then I think Gibbs White trips over Ben Mee's leg, but Ben Mee's leg is already being pulled back away from it. It's Gibbs White delivers this free kick, right-footed in-swinger into the box, and then it's Steve Cook that meets it with a header, but he couldn't quite direct it goalwards, and it's behind for a Brentford goal kick. But really good ball out from Morgan Gibbs White, but just lacked a bit of pace in it perhaps, so Steve Cook couldn't quite generate the power on the header, and he couldn't quite generate a goal.
No, it's more of a glance from Cook, really, wasn't it? Didn't quite get the power on it that he wanted, but certainly that's a warning for Brentford, who didn't really capitalise on that positive start they had in the second half, and now Forest look a lot stronger.
Yeah, Nottingham Forest just starting to regain the front foot on this half again, as Jensen finds Wissa, who looks for Mbeumo but couldn't quite find him, and now Dennis can get a counter-attack going as Morgan Gibbs White brings the ball down. Was it handball? Onto Mariner says no. Gibbs White still keeping the ball onto his right foot, and his left shifting and shafting, and then couldn't quite get the ball across the goal, and he runs out of room, and the ball goes behind for a goal kick. Good defending there from Roslev just to squeeze Morgan Gibbs White out of space, but originally it was a really good knockdown from Brennan Johnson. Gibbs White just couldn't quite get the shooting angle to open up for him, and then Roslev just, as I say, in the end allows Gibbs White to run out of room and behind for a goal kick as Jensen looks for a big switch towards Brian Mbeumo, but Mbeumo couldn't quite get on the end of it, and he holds his hands up in the air there. Mbeumo's frustrated that the ball wasn't quite good enough as the counter-attack was on there. Thomas Frank applauds it. Brentford seems to be at the moment just wanting to play on the counter-attack, and Manchester City have taken the lead at the Etihad Stadium. The 10 men, big goal for Pep Guardiola's men. We'll confirm for you who scored that shortly, as Nottingham Forest here look to take the lead at home as well.
Well, if you say it's Haaland, the man who scores. They say there was talk that he may not play today because of his injury, but he didn't start. He came on for Alvarez, and within 10 minutes, Haaland is on the score sheet. So Manchester City, the 10 men of Manchester City now lead against Fulham by 2-1.
Even when he's not in the starting 11, it's almost inevitable that Erling Haaland will get a goal in the Premier League, and he's done just that. And what a big goal that could be for the 10 men of Manchester City. And here comes Freuler now for Nottingham Forest, and what a big goal it would be if either side could get one in the final 18 minutes that we have left at the City ground. Morgan Gibbs White has the ball now for Nottingham Forest. Gibbs White into Lewis O'Brien. Back to Gibbs White. Not really much on in the way of movement. Emmanuel Dennis looks out wide to Serge Aurier. Aurier has to go to Brennan Johnson, but there's not a lot of red shirts moving. It's a lot of sideways from Nottingham Forest at the moment. Brentford are camped in their area at the moment. 10 men behind the ball as Nico Williams tries his luck against Brian Mbeumo. Can he get the ball in the box? No, instead he looks for Freuler. Freuler now has the ball in a more of a central position. He looks for Dennis on the edge of the box. A slide tackle comes in from Onyeka. It wasn't a very good one. And Gibbs White, the ball fell to him on 18 yards out there in the D, in quite a bit of space in the central area, but couldn't quite whip his shot goalwards, and it went a few yards wide. Yeah, it didn't trouble David Raya at all in the end. Just to tell you that the goal for Man City has been ruled out for offside, so it's still 1-1 between Man City and Fulham. Haaland's goal not awarded, but Gibbs White will be frustrated. I think Forest will be frustrated that they've not done more. It's similar to what we were saying in the first half, that for all the attacking possession, they probably should have a few more chances now. They should have indeed, and here's Damsgaard, the substitute, and the ball has been brought down by Ryan Yates as a and the referee agrees with us, and it's going to be a free kick. And Damsgaard's trying to take it quickly, but Nottingham Forest aren't going to allow that to happen. Brennan Johnson is the man who's adjudged to bring him down, and Damsgaard finds Ben Mee. 74 minutes played at the City Ground. Nottingham Forest 1, Brentford 1. Morgan Gibbs White scored in the opening 20 minutes of this game to give Nottingham Forest the lead, and then Brentford equalised right on the stroke of half time as Johan Vissa's been played in behind here, and he lobs Dean Henderson, and what a goal that is from Johan Wissa out of absolutely nothing. Brentford catch Nottingham Forest cold or with the long ball, and they've stung them late on at the City Ground. 74 minutes played. Johan Wissa scores. Nottingham Forest 1. Brentford 2.
Well, out of absolutely nothing, the last 10 minutes is only one side who were going to score in this game, and it was going to be Nottingham Forest. But out of nowhere, Brentford have taken the lead. And when Wissa moves to this, we'll just see if he's offside. I don't think he's anywhere near offside. He's still a good yard ahead of McKenna or behind McKenna, whichever way you look at it. And the finish from Wissa is very cultured. He just judges the speed and the bounce of the ball. Hnederson is already in no man's land. Wissa knows if he gets it over him and keeps it at just the right height, it's going to be a guaranteed goal, and it is. It's a really good finish from Johan Wissa.
It's a beautiful ball from Mathias Jensen, isn't it? Let's not understate that. First time, it's inch perfect, but McKenna and Cook, there's going to be question marks of the two central defenders there, because one long ball like that, Wissa, of course, has got the pace over McKenna and Cook, but it's too easy for Nottingham Forest's point of view. And then Johan Wissa with the Erling Haaland celebration, paying homage there to him, and he takes the lead for Brentford. And, well, he's got his opportunity in that central role where he prefers, isn't it? That number 9 role with Ivan Toney suspended, and he's took his opportunity with a really important goal for Thomas Frank's side. And our Brentford heading for their first win on the road this season. Well,
as we said at kick-off, Forest would look at Brentford and think that they've done nothing away from home this season. This is a good chance for us to get another win at home. Brentford, on the other hand, I thought, well, we're up against newly promoted Forest. Surely this is a game that we can try and win away from home and get some points on the board. So Brentford will be delighted with that, but there's still 50 minutes to play. Well, how are Forest going to respond now?
Nico Williams is ball into the box, and coming together there between Rico Henry and Ryan Yates, and Yates is furious that the referee's not giving anything there. I don't think it was going to be a strong penalty shout there for Nottingham Forest, and then Serge Aurier now has the ball out wide right for Nottingham Forest, and he links up well with Freuler. Freuler through the legs of Rico Henry finds Ryan Yates. Yates back to Freuler. Freuler, can he just quite squeeze it to Gibbs White? He can, but Gibbs White was just behind him, couldn't generate any power on the shot, and it's cleared only as far as Steve Cook. Steve Cook finds Serge Aurier. Aurier has Yates near to the box, but instead opts to cross. Crossing wasn't the right option, and Mikhail Damsgaard can pick the ball up and he'll clear, but again he only clears as far as Steve Cook. Relentless pressure from Nottingham Forest here just after they fell behind. It's Lewis O'Brien out wide onto the left, this time to Nico Williams. Williams into a more central role to Emmanuel Dennis. Dennis now shifting onto his right foot, looking for Serge Aurier out on the right hand side, and he does just that. Aurier into Freuler. Freuler to Aurier. The Ivorian fullback now with a nice chipped ball into Freuler. Can Freuler deliver on his right foot? Jensen does really well to come across, but he can only find the corner. It's a corner for Nottingham Forest here in front of their fans. 77 minutes played as we look at this penalty appeal here again for Rico Henry on Ryan Yates, and Yates just throws himself to the floor.
There's not enough, I think, there from Henry to say that he's brought Yates down, although Yates was certainly trying to take that to the referee.
Yates will take anything he can get at this moment, of course, with his side trailing. It's going to be Morgan Gibbs-White to deliver this corner kick for Nottingham Forest. Right foot out swinger Gibbs-White. Gibbs-White's delivery doesn't look a bad one. It's not a bad one. It's towards the head of Steve Cook, and I think in the end it was Ryan Yates, the skipper, who gets the final contact, and it was, but he couldn't quite get over the ball and he heads it wide, and Ben Mee looks to be in a bit of pain. But here come Jesse Lingard and Anyuwenyi. But Nottingham Forest fans will say this is too reactive from Steve Cooper. They have to be proactive with the substitutions, waiting for them to fall behind before he brings on Lingard and Anyuwenyi. So it's going to be interesting to see who's going to come off. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I mean, I wouldn't imagine is going to be coming on either for Johnson or for Dennis. Lingard, well, we'll see. It's a confirmation that Dennis is off, and Taiwo Awoniyi is going to come on to replace him. Although I doubt, I'm pretty sure Awoniyi is going to go straight into that number 9 role.
And Awoniyi on for Dennis, and then who's going to be coming off for Jesse Lingard? It'll be interesting to see. Perhaps Brendan Johnson, or maybe he's taking more gamble with a Freuler.
Yeah, it's Remo Freuler that's coming off. So it's, as I say, it's a solid central, almost defensive midfielder being replaced by a sort of a number 10 or a winger. So I suppose it's now or never for Forest. They've got around 10 minutes to play plus injury time, 11 minutes to play plus injury time. So they've got to try and go for it here, but we've still got a bit of a break in players. There's a Brentford player down. It's still Ben Mee being checked over.
Yeah, Ben Mee had a tough fall in there, didn't he? And it's not looking very good for him at the moment. But yeah, you just see that it's an awkward landing there between Yates and Mee from that corner, and Mee just sort of landed on his side, and I think that's what he's trying to clutch at. He's got back up to his feet there. I think he's hurt the back of his neck as well, Ben Mee. David Raya asked him if he's alright, and Brentford are going to be making 2 changes as well. Sergi Canos is going to be one of them.
Yeah, Sergi Canos and Zanka Jorgensen is the other. So a tricky forward, a tricky attacking midfielder, and a solid centre-back being prepared here. It may well be that the physios have already been in touch with Thomas Frank to say that it's best not to risk Ben Mee, maybe just to change him if he's got a bit of a neck injury, a bit of a problem in terms of going for a header. And as for Canos, well, that could be for Mbeumo, who's on a yellow card. Or it may well be for... Well, I can't imagine he'd take Wissa off after he scored, but then Mbeumo scored as well, so we'll wait and see. But the first change, it is actually Mbeumo who's going off, and the number that's been displayed is the number of Zanka Jorgensen. So it looks like Brentford may be going back to a back three here.
Yeah, well, to see this game out, Brentford possibly, as Paul's mentioned there, going to a back three, and Mbeumo takes the applause of the away fans. He's done his bit, he's run his socks, run his feet into the ground, hasn't he, this afternoon.
Josh Da Silva's the other player to go off. So
yeah, back three for Brentford.
Yeah, so this might mean that, because I think Damsgaard was playing in a wide role, I think Damsgaard's going to be asked to sit in that midfield three now, and Canos is going to go into a bit more of a wide role.
Zanka Jorgensen, the other man to come on for Brentford, the Danish international. Of course, Brentford have a lot of them, as Paul mentioned earlier, with their manager, of course, as well, Thomas Frank, a Dane, as... It's going to be Ben Mee is going to be okay to continue. Then it looks
it looks like he's fine. So the Brentford were going to make a tactical change with another defender coming. But here comes Roslev now.
Yeah, brilliant work from Roslev. Past Nico Williams, puts ball in, just evades everyone. Can Rico Henry keep it in? No, he can't. It's going to be a throw-in on that far right-hand side for Nottingham Forest. 81 minutes played at the City Ground. Nottingham Forest 1, Brentford 2. Brentford have come from behind. It's been a real tricky game for Brentford, though, hasn't it, Paul? They've not really been anywhere near their best, but this would be such an important 3 points. One win in the last 6 for both of these
This is it, though,
teams.
isn't it, Ben? I mean, it's all about winning ugly in the Premier League. You don't want to win if you're playing brilliantly well, you expect to win, but if you're not playing particularly well, if a few players are off, if a few players are missing, and you can go away from home and pick up 3 points, that's always a boost to the team.
It is indeed, and Johan Wissa finds Damsgaard there, and Damsgaard's attempted pass was a bad one, but he gets the ball back, and then he finds Johan Wissa, and Wissa can find Rico Henry, and Henry will find Damsgaard. Damsgaard again looks like Sergio Canos actually it was who looked for Henry but couldn't quite find him. Sergio Canos looks like he's going to play on that left hand side of the front three now then, with Johan Wissa through the middle as Nico Williams brings the ball forward now for Nottingham Forest, and he kicks long but it's cleared by Brentford, and Roslev finds Jensen, and Jensen looks for that again, that first time ball to Wissa. This time wasn't quite on, it's out for a Nottingham Forest throw-in. But Leeds 3, Bournemouth 3 at Ellen Road. 3-1 down, Leeds United were after they took the lead, and it looks as if they might even have got a fourth, actually. We'll keep you updated there, but Leeds United possibly have taken the lead at Ellen Road against Bournemouth. That would be quite a remarkable comeback, that, for Jesse Marsh's Whites, I should say. And Manchester City still being held by Fulham at home. Of course, they thought they had the ball in the back of the net through Erling Haaland, but that had been disallowed. Nottingham Forest, of course, here at the City Ground, they trail 2-1 to Brentford, and then Wolves are currently holding Brighton at Molineux, even though they're down to 10 men. So lots of drama, lots of penalties, lots of red cards all the way across the Premier League in this afternoon's kickoff. And Leeds United have taken the lead, 4-3 now. They lead Brentford. Absolutely remarkable game, a 7-goal thriller at Ellen Road.
Yeah, Crescencio Somerville with the goal for Leeds. He likes scoring late goals. Did it against Liverpool last week at Anfield, getting Leeds the late winner, and looks like he's done it again this afternoon.
Yeah, 2-2 for Somerville. He's enjoying a great barrel spell of form at the moment, isn't he? As Brentford are ready in another change, that with their final change of the match as well.
Yes, Sam Godos, who's going to come up against England. The Iranian international is likely to be in the Iran squad when the two sides meet at the World Cup. But yeah, he's going to be coming on. Attacking midfielder, you'd imagine that it's going to be potentially maybe for Wissa or for Jensen to try and perhaps just freshen up that midfield. But Brentford in possession now with Canos' ball up towards Wissa. Potentially a chance for Brentford to go on the attack.
Yeah, Jensen done really well to win that ball back initially there. And now Wissa takes on Ryan Yates, and he evades his tackle really well. And then he looks for Sergio Canos out wide left, and Canos can keep it in. And here comes Sergio Canos now, 1-on-1 with Steve Cook, cuts inside on his right foot. He could have looked for Wissa, but he didn't, and in the end he tried to bend a shot. So sort of a cross-come shot in the end from Sergio Canos on his right foot. He cut in it. The ball was curling, but there was no Brentford man at the back post to get a touch, and in the end it evaded everyone and behind for a goal kick.
Yeah, a bit disappointing in the end from Canos. The build-up was promising, but the shot wasn't especially good from Brentford's number 7. He gets to the edge of the area, looks up, and sees that there are options to pass. and for whatever reason he decides to go for a shot where, I mean, if he gets the curl on that, potentially Henderson could have been unsighted, but here come Forest on the attack now.
Yeah, Forest come with Morgan Gibbs-White, and Gibbs-White does well there, but his ball in wasn't as good, and it's cleared away well by Roslev, and Roslev's clearance goes as far as Scott McKenna. Brentford not throwing too many bodies forward now. Every single player is in their own defensive half. 84.5 minutes played. Nottingham Forest 1, Brentford 2. Big 3 points this would be for Brentford. Nottingham Forest, this is a real tough loss for them to take after their brilliant heroics in their last home game, but they only sit on 9 Premier League points. The only team in the Premier League that have not got to double figures yet this season. It's not looking good for Nottingham Forest.
No, it's not. I mean, they would point to a couple of games where they've been a bit unlucky. Certainly, this game would certainly straight away spring to mind. But Brentford making their fifth and final change. It is going to be Mathias Jensen, who's certainly run a shift for Brentford this afternoon. He is off, and Sam Ghoddos comes on to replace him.
Sam Ghoddos is on for Jensen, as Paul's mentioned there. And Brighton look like they might have nicked a late winner at Molineux. We'll keep you updated there, but it seems as if Brighton perhaps might have just nicked a late winner. Is there another late twist at the City Ground? Can Nottingham Forest pull off a huge point that it would be for them to get themselves on to 10 points in the Premier League this season and just about break Brentford hearts? But it wouldn't say it would be undeserved, because I think Nottingham Forest have played well for the majority of this game, but Brentford have just been clinical in the big moments. They won their penalty, they converted it, and then Johan Wissa have nothing really from that fabulous Jensen ball in behind, with a real ice-cool finish to dink over Dean Henderson, and that's been the difference between the two sides at the moment. Gibbs-White's been tackled there by Damsgaard, and it's going to be out for a Nottingham Forest throw-in. Time running out for Forest, 4 minutes plus stoppage time for them to snatch a point at home here, and Brighton have taken the lead at Molineux. They now lead by 3-2. Remarkable there. What is going on in the Premier League? A whole host of late goals, red cards, penalties. It's been an eventful afternoon on Bonfire Night. There's been real fireworks, hasn't there, amongst the Premier League, as there always is. And a long kick forward there from Dean Henderson. Nico Williams wins the original knockdown, but then Zanka Jorgensen can just about put his foot clear, but it wasn't really towards anyone. He wasn't under any pressure either. He's given the ball away poorly there, the Danish centre-back. And how come Nottingham Forest again with Aurier's ball in? It wasn't a bad cross at all from Serge Aurier. Early cross, decent angle. Gibbs-White couldn't quite get any real contact on the header. He gets a bit on it, but it goes by him for a goal kick. Another chance goes begging.
Yeah, it was always straining to get to that one, and Steve Cooper looking a little bit more frustrated now. He knows that time is running out. The next game for Forest is at home to Spurs in the League Cup. That is on Wednesday. And then they have their last game in the Premier League before the World Cup break. They play at home to Crystal Palace next Saturday, whereas Brentford, as I mentioned, they're home to Gillingham in the League Cup in midweek before the small matter of playing Man City away next Saturday.
Yeah, so this is even a bigger game for Brentford, even with that massive game of the Etihad next week, isn't it? You know, it's not going to be easy to go there, but you know, having said that, Fulham seem to be heading for a point at the Etihad.
Yes,
today,
they are.
So
I mean, Fulham have done very well this afternoon. Of course, playing against the 10 men of City. City thought they'd taken the lead, but Haaland's effort was judged to have been from an offside position, and we've still got just over 2 minutes to play here, plus injury time at the City ground.
Pascal Gross, incidentally, is the man that looks as if he's got the winner at Molineux for Brighton. They're enjoying a fabulous season, aren't they? And De Zerbi's now got them playing the football they were playing under Graham Potter. Of course, that famous win against Chelsea last weekend for Brighton. And now here comes Lewis O'Brien for Nottingham Forest. He links up well there with Morgan Gibbs-White. Not really mentioned Jesse Lingard once since he's come on the pitch, have we? Here he is now, and he finds Morgan Gibbs-White. And if there's a moment for Jesse Lingard to burst into life for Nottingham Forest and really get his Nottingham Forest career going, it will be now. And Jesse Lingard finds Steve Cook. Steve Cook finds Serge Aurier. Nottingham Forest are running out of time. Needs to get the ball in the box here. Aurier attempts that. Blocked well by Damsgaard. Behind for a Nottingham Forest corner. Gibbs-White comes across to take. But I mean, it's time's run out for Forest. They've not really looked like creating much, have they, since Brentford took the lead, Paul?
No, they haven't, and that's been, I think, the real frustration for Steve Cook, that his side just haven't been able to step forward after conceding. But with this corner kick now, it needs to be a good delivery from Gibbs-White.
Gibbs-White's delivery, can it be a good delivery? It's not a bad one. It's towards the head of Steve Cook, and then it's headed away and then put back in by Lewis O'Brien on the volley on the edge of the box. Ambitious, never really going to trouble David Raya. It flew over the bar, and that's more pressure relieved on the Brentford goals. Nottingham Forest are going to make another change here. Sam Sturridge looks as if he's going to be coming on. Steve Cook off.
Yes, I say, just try and get another attacking body in there for the last few minutes. So Sam Sturridge on the field now for Forest for these last few minutes. And to say, we've actually got 45 seconds of injury time still to play here before we see how much injury time there'll be. Now, I'd imagine there should be a little bit of that as well.
Yeah, you'd imagine about 3 minutes, so about 3.5, 4 minutes for Nottingham Forest to rescue their bacon in this football match. It's kicked long by David Raya, only as far as Serge Aurier. Aurier's head is a real poor one, though. It's brought down by Brentford, but then Nottingham Forest can come here with Jesse Lingard, and Zanka Jorgensen really meets that well, but Nico Williams can pick up the second ball. And now Williams shifts onto his right foot, gets a cross in towards Surridge. Brentford clear, only as far as Gibbs White. Gibbs White holds off Sergi Canos. Now he looks to deliver, but he can only find Serge Aurier. Aurier's ball in, it's not a bad one, towards the back post. Jesse Lingard pulls it across goal, and it's a really, really good clearance from Ben Mee. He was alive to it. Sam Surridge was there to tap into an empty net, but Ben Mee clears well. Nottingham Forest knocking on the door now. Lewis O'Brien's ball in towards the head of Sam Surridge, headed away well by Rico Henry, and then Sergi Canos is in there, but he's tackled well by Gibbs White. Now it's Serge Aurier. Aurier looks to switch towards Nico Williams. He finds Williams. Can Nico Williams get another dangerous delivery into the box? Roslev holds him off well. He's got Lewis O'Brien in support. Williams opts to cross instead towards Surridge, headed away really well by Zanka Jorgensen. And Ethan Pinnock was in there as well. I think Pinnock got the final touch. 6 minutes added on at the City Ground, so still time for Nottingham Forest. We've played 35 seconds of that. 5.5 minutes to go for Forest to snatch an equaliser at home here against Brentford. They do trail by 2-1 though. Brentford do have this slender lead. Long ball in from Scott McKenna. Real poor one, but real poor header from Ethan Pinnock.
Yeah,
out sideways for a throw.
Wasn't under that much pressure there, Pinnock. He could have done a little bit more to just get that header away from the penalty area as opposed to heading it just out to the side and giving Forest this a bit of attacking possession. Morgan Gibbs-White is still hobbling there. Doesn't look like he's looking too comfortable at the moment.
Had a challenge of Sergio Canos moments ago. I think it was from that as Scott McKenna goes out wide towards Nico Williams. Gibbs-White's going to have to stand the pitch because all the changes have been made. As Nico Williams' ball in is absolutely fabulous, and Anyueni was there before David Raya. Raya was in no man's land, really. Anyueni was unmarked in his header. Just over the bar, but I'm not quite sure what he was doing. The contact was really poor. We'll see again if he was onside, because he seems to be in a lot of space around you, and he was onside, but
he's got to do better there, Ronnie. I think that once he gets into that position, Raya straight away remonstrating with his defender, saying you've got to do more to try and stop him there. There was never any hint that he could be offside either, so that's got to be a bit better from Brentford's point of view, but then he's also got to do better to get it on target.
Manchester City have a penalty in the 95th minute at the Etihad Stadium against Fulham. I mean, wow, it's going to be heartbreak for Fulham there if Manchester City can convert. And Erling Haaland's on the pitch. You'd expect him to be taking the penalty. Unbelievable. They've had a couple of goals disallowed, but it's Erling Haaland who's going to take the penalty for Manchester City. We'll keep you updated there if he converts. Dean Henderson momentarily has the ball with Nottingham Forest, and he kicks long. 4 minutes left to play at the City Ground. Can Nottingham Forest break Brentford hearts? Can they sting the bees where it hurts? As Serge Aurier now has the ball. Aurier looks to go long. Ryan Yates, right-footed volley, 30 yards out. Really poor from the captain there, I think. Wasn't the right option, Paul, was it? He had a bit of space to Aurier on his right, Williams on his left, and in the end goes for a spectacular 1 in 100, and that relieves some of the pressure on the Brentford goal.
Well, it does, yeah. I would say confirmation that City have scored their penalty, so they now lead against Fulham by 2-1. And we've still got a full 3 minutes of injury time to play here at the City Ground. And Forest are starting to knock on the door a little bit more now. They're certainly starting to put more pressure on Brentford in these final minutes.
They are indeed, and Brentford have just been looking to head for that corner now, and that's what they do with Damsgaard, who's looking for the run of Wissa. Nico Williams chasing it as well, but Wissa is going to run it down. I'm not sure the ball's going to go all the way behind. Wissa does really well here. Does he to prevent the corner? No, he doesn't. The ball goes behind for a goal kick, and Man City, as Paul said there, have converted the penalty. We'll just make sure it was Erling Haaland. You'd imagine it would have been Erling Haaland that scored the penalty, and it was Erling Haaland. He did get his goal in the end. He got denied once, but you can't deny him twice. The machine is Erling Haaland, and it's a long kick forward from Dean Henderson towards the head of Anyueni. It's come all the way back, though, courtesy of Ben Mee, and then Nottingham Forest get going it again. It's hiked up in the air by Scott McKenna, brought down by Jesse Lingard, but Wissa does really well to win the ball back, and then he knocks it long. And now here's Wissa on the ball for Nottingham Forest, and he finds Onyeka. Onyeka looks for... Is he onside here? Nottingham Forest!
Oh, Godos, what's he doing?
Godos had... unbelievable chance. I thought it was offside because of the nature of it. Oh, the substitute, the Iranian Godos, he was offside.
He was offside. The flag would have gone up if he'd have got it on target.
He did look offside in real time there, Paul. I just wonder why the flag didn't go up. He was so far offside, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, the flag goes up a few seconds later, but Godos didn't know that when he took the shot. It was just a poor effort from him.
Real poor effort from Godos there. And another little for Nottingham Forest. Can they make them pay? And I think Jesse Lingard's been brought down there. As Andre Mariner given the free kick, he hasn't. And Jesse Lingard's furious for that as well, as here comes Lewis O'Brien. He finds Jesse Lingard. Lingard out wide to Nico Williams. Williams again, right-footed cross. Not a bad one towards Sam Surridge, headed really well by Ethan Pinnock. And then Sergio Canos picks up the second ball, but he can only kick it behind. Out for a throw-in. Less than 90 seconds left here for Brentford to hold on at the City ground. Nottingham Forest to huffing and puffing, but they can't blow the house down at the moment. Here comes Lewis O'Brien to Serge Aurier. Serge Aurier looks for Gibbs White. Gibbs White's ball into the box, headed back in by Scott McKenna, cleared away. Desperate defending from Brentford, and then Onyeka gets a further touch on it, only as far as Lewis O'Brien. O'Brien chips it back in to the back post, to Steve Cook, I should say, and then it's put in the back of the net, is it surely? It's cleared off the line, and wow, has the ball gone in? It's in. Nottingham Forest have levelled. I'm not quite sure who got the final touch. It was a goal-mouth scramble. Pandemonium, Ben Mee.
Yeah, I don't actually think the ball's got into the net as such. It's crossed the line as Ben Mee's tried to stop it on the line. And Steve Cook delighted there. The Nottingham Forest supporters will be absolutely delighted as well. They've really been fighting for it throughout the 90 minutes. Over the 90 minutes, they'll probably argue as though they were value for the draw at the very least. And Thomas Frank's side looks like it's all over as far as them getting their first 3 points away from home. Ben Mee trying his best, but the whole ball definitely crossed the line.
Yeah, Raya throws himself at the ball, and then Morgan Gibbs White scuffs a shot back in there, and then the ball hits Raya, hits Ben Mee, hits Jorge Jankensen, and then it just flicks up into it. It's really unlucky because Ben Mee clears it off the line, then it hits Jankensen, and then the ball flicks back towards the goal, and then Ben Mee acrobatically tries to clear, but the ball is millimetres over the line, literally millimetres. I was so unlucky there. There's a VAR for a possible offside check here, so the drama is not over at the City ground. It is either going to finish 2-1 or it's going to finish 2-2 because we've played the 6 minutes. There's a possible
Who's offside here,
check.
though? That's the question.
Yeah, well, because David Raya is ahead of the defender, there has to be 2 defenders behind for him to be onside. So that's what they're checking here. Is there 2 defenders behind David Raya, or is Ryan Yates in an offside position? So that's what they're checking here. When Gibbs White strikes the ball, is it only Ryan Yates?
Well, it deflects off Yates, doesn't it? So
that's it. So he's involved. So if there's not 2 players behind, the goal is going to be ruled out for offside. It's going to be interesting to see it. But I think the goal's been given. It has been given. The goal has been given. Nottingham Forest have levelled right at the death, and they have stung the bees right at the death here. Nottingham Forest 2, Brentford 2. I don't think there's going to be anything in the way of extra time for either of these sides to try and find a winner. Brentford kick it long, but it's only towards Dean Henderson. And Nottingham Forest have nicked a valuable point at the hands. Oh, it's so unfortunate for Brentford. It's the substitute Zanka Jorgensen. He didn't know anything about it, but it's his own goal that looks to have levelled things here, and it has. Full time at the City ground. Late drama at the end of the first half. Late drama at the end of the second. But it's finished at the City ground. Nottingham Forest 2, Brentford 2.